I call to order the meeting of the Verona Plan Commission for Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. We'll begin with the roll.
Commissioner Harrison, Commissioner Wood are absent. Commissioner Powers,
Here?
Mayor Diaz,
Here.
Alder Swanson, and Commissioner Hankard,
Here.
and Commissioner Taylor is absent as well.
All right, we have 4 people, which is just enough for quorum, so we can proceed. We will proceed to item 3, which is public comment. Do any members of the public wish to speak? Seeing no one approaching the table, we'll move on to item 4, which is approve the minutes from the August 4th, 2025 Plan Commission meeting. Questions, comments, corrections, or motions to approve? Motion by Commissioner Hankard. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Powers. Last chance for corrections. Seeing no corrections, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the August 4th, 2025 Plan Commission meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the minutes are approved. We'll move on to item 5, which is regarding the conditional use permit to increase the maximum height for roof-mounted mechanicals located at 301 and 303 West Verona Avenue. Mr. Sievertson, can we get a brief overview before we do the public hearing?
Yes. So a public hearing is being held for a conditional use permit to increase the maximum height for roof-mounted equipment. A legal notice was published in the Verona Press. Personal notice was sent to properties within 250 feet, and a sign was posted at the property.
Excellent. With that, I will move that we open the public hearing on this topic. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Swanson. All those in favor of opening the public hearing on this topic, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And we're in the public hearing at 6:32 p.m. If anyone wants to speak on the conditional use permit for this item, now would be the time to do so.
Sorry, let's go here.
Yeah.
Do I have to come up here? Or can
You-
And then make sure the microphone's on.
Okay. It's on green,
Awesome.
so that's good. Okay. I'm Allison Hoffman. I live at 303 Church Avenue, which is about a block and a half from this location. So I drive by it, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a day, probably. I work from home. My kids go to school, middle school, high school in Verona. So I was a part of the 2020 discussion when this property went in. It was during COVID, so lots of Zoom calls, unfortunately. And I think this got pushed through really quickly. My main concern is adding square footage by enclosing the breezeway for this restaurant. Parking. I don't know how it got approved because there's 20 units, I believe, which I think is what, 1.5 parking stalls per unit. That's the whole parking lot. So when we add a restaurant in there, I'm wondering, where are people gonna go? Are they gonna park in the street? West Verona Avenue, the last 2 years with that park opening, it's a mess. Even with the new flashing light, which I think took about 2 years of me requesting, finally got in. I have seen a rollover. Someone has gotten hit at Marietta, and the car flipped over onto its roof at 5:30 at rush hour. So my concern is parking on this intersection is terrible. Even today, with people working on the sidewalks, 11 o'clock, it was hard to get out. And I don't know if having additional in and out with pickup pizza, because that's what Ian's Pizza is, right? It's pizza by the slice, is going to be beneficial because people will be coming and going. I'm also concerned with the Legion Street intersection and the stoplights. If you cannot turn left at Rita, you're gonna turn right, and then you're gonna turn left on Church. You're gonna come down Church, you're gonna go out on Marietta. I used to be able to go out on South Main Street, but that intersection is also terrible. I think a pedestrian or a 14-year-old kid got hit on a bike by a police officer a month ago. So I don't even go out that intersection anymore. It's a blind intersection. I just feel that this parking restrictions, I wanna know what are the parking restrictions? They're adding square footage to that restaurant. What needs to be done? Does it qualify? I know we've denied a 200-person banquet facility 2 blocks away from this. On a night where there is concerts in the park a couple Thursdays ago, that parking lot is already full, the streets are full. Where are these additional people going to go? The other thing about this neighborhood, one thing we discussed is the narrowness of the streets. Church Avenue any part of that, you park on Church Avenue, the older part, 2 vehicles, 1 on each side, it is a one-way street. Cars literally have to wait for the other car to go, and I can show you videos. I've taken them from my front. So Park Lane has not been updated. It is parking on 2 streets. It is a one-way street anytime there's one side of the parking. That is right there too. I have seen with Tabby and Jack's tons of delivery trucks. They park within 15 feet of the intersection, blocking that. They park in front of the Sugar Creek apartments, the senior apartments, deliver stuff all over. So it's just a very congested intersection. I do know it was approved for a restaurant. I think certain restaurants have a great fit for it. I don't know about, pickup and delivery for pizza is the best option, and especially if it doesn't have enough parking, because I do believe that entire neighborhood needs a comprehensive parking study and traffic study, especially now that we know you added about 800 people, the high school is open, we have the data to do it, versus in 2020, we didn't know what the high school was going to be like. We didn't know how big Epic was going to get. And it's just, like 4 o'clock today, the whole neighborhood is a disaster. And I can't imagine adding rush hour dinner and pickup for that area. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. We are still in the public hearing on this topic. So if anyone else wishes to speak regarding the conditional use permit at 301 and 303 West Verona Avenue, now would be the time to do so. Seeing no one else approaching the table, I will make a motion to close the public hearing on this topic. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Powers. All those in favor of closing the public hearing on this topic, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the public hearing is closed at 6:37 p.m. Mr. Severson.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting a site plan amendment to enclose the existing breezeway, replace storefront windows, and install mechanical equipment on the roof and ground. The subject property is located at the southwest corner of West Verona Avenue and South Marietta Street. The site plan was most recently approved by the Plan Commission and Council in 2021. The building was approved with 2 first-floor commercial units, a breezeway, surface parking lot, and an outdoor patio adjacent to the western commercial space. The eastern commercial unit is occupied by a retailer, and the west commercial space is currently vacant. The applicant's proposal includes occupying the west commercial space, as well as a portion of the breezeway, the adjacent patio, as well as a rooftop deck. The proposed changes to the site plan include relocation of a sidewalk and bike rack, and the addition of 2 ground-mounted mechanical unit enclosures. The facade changes include enclosing the existing breezeway with storefront windows, overhead doors, and spandrel glass. Spandrel glass will be added to the side and the rear of the building to conceal the bathrooms and the kitchen. So here's a rendering on the left showing it's a photo of the existing conditions, and then the bottom right was showing the overhead door as well as the storefront windows. In addition to the mechanical units at grade, the restaurant will require mechanical units on the roof. This plan shows the location of the equipment on the roof, along with an enclosure to conceal both the exhaust and the air handler. So on this, let me get my pointer out. So this is the lower roof right here. That's where the restaurant would be able to use this for seating or events. And then the upper roof located here is where the air handler is located or would be located, and their exhaust. The reason why it needs to be located here is because when the building was constructed, there was a chase that was put in, mechanical chase, to allow for these ducts to go from the first floor to the roof. And they're located right here on the upper roof. So that's why this mechanical equipment is located there. The applicant is proposing a wood-like appearance for the ground enclosures and a white painted metal enclosure on the rooftop. Staff have worked with the applicant to minimize the visibility of the mechanical equipment and are supportive of the proposal. I do want to point out that the existing zoning regulations for this district do exempt commercial from requiring parking. So that's why no additional parking is required in this particular instance. And the building was previously approved for a restaurant to be located here. And that's even with the additional floor area being used for the breezeway. So given that, staff recommend approval of the site plan amendment and conditional use permit. The Plan Commission may approve the site plan amendment and recommend the Common Council approve the conditional use permit.
Thank you for that explanation. As it's listed in the packet, we'll start with 5A, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the conditional use permit to increase the maximum height for roof-mounted mechanicals located at 301 and 303 West Verona Avenue. Questions, comments, or motions on the conditional use permit item? Alder Swanson and then myself.
So I want to say that I'm receptive to the public comment that we heard about concerns about traffic in the area. I don't think that, unfortunately, this is the right place for us to be addressing that. I think that's outside of our scope for right here. But I would encourage anyone that has concerns about that to go to the open houses for the comprehensive plan, where we are receiving feedback and getting more information about the future of what the town will look like, which may be a good place to make those comments so that we know what we should be looking at.
Okay, calling on myself. Mr. Severson, any concerns about noise for the people living in the building with the mechanicals on the roof?
Given the location of the mechanicals at grade, there could be some, obviously, the proximity of mechanical equipments at grade, it's going to be a little bit louder, but there's nothing in our ordinance that has limits on decibels for mechanical equipment. I should say specifically for air handling unit, air conditioners. We do regulate generators just because they're quite a bit noisier. But in general, we do not regulate the noise levels for air conditioning units.
Okay. And then I guess I have a little follow-up question on the parking. Alder Swanson is correct in the sense that this might be like a macro issue where it's not just this area, it's Verona and Maine, it's the misaligned streets by Alice Good, it's the misaligned streets by Rita and Legion, and how it's just that's just the way the city was built many years ago. I don't think anyone foresaw how the city would grow or anything like that. But I guess if you could just expand a little bit on why you feel comfortable about the parking at this location.
Well, I guess the reason why this location was picked to be occupied as a restaurant is just given the proximity to the park. The park was approved, and it was acknowledged at that time that there was no dedicated parking lot that was going to be used just for the park. But it was understood that on-street parking and people who live in the area would be coming to the park. And we anticipate some of those people to be also going to the restaurant. So it's not as though everyone going to the restaurant wouldn't otherwise already be there. And in addition, there's parking on West Verona. Granted, it can be tight at times, but because of the use, there's also some spaces that are being designated as temporary loading. So that can hopefully accommodate not only the loading of vehicles, but also temporary parking for people that are just coming to pick up pizza and go.
Thank you. And then I guess my final question before I have a comment is, do you know the applicant's build-out time Like when, if it were all approved at the council next week and at the site plan tonight, when would it open?
That I don't know. I can just tell you, based upon experience, a typical restaurant build out would be like 4 to 5 months.
Okay.
More complex projects can take a year. I don't anticipate that being the case. The applicant is here in the audience if they had any other information that they wanted to provide.
You don't have to, but if, I've been asked about it a bunch.
We're timelining like late spring.
Late spring 2026? Okay. Awesome, thank you. Yeah, just overall, I am supportive of the project. I think, you know, it was always intended to be a restaurant. People have been definitely let me know that they don't like seeing the empty buildings and they want to see something go there. I think Ian's Pizza is a good fit both for the Art House 360 and the park. I think people will love being able to do grab and go stuff and go see some music in the park. I think we have, in line with what was said at public comment or the public hearing, that we have some long-term challenges with traffic and parking. And I think that as part of the comp plan update and some of the things we're working on now are going to kind of address those things. I don't think, you know, this spot is a piece of the puzzle, but it's larger patterns that we're trying to deal with, and that's ultimately on the city to solve. And I would also point out, I guess, that not only has Verona seen a lot of growth, like there's been growth in Greene County towards Mount Horeb, and there's a lot of people driving through Verona and on streets that were never meant to handle the traffic. And so it's just something we're going to have to deal with. But again, I'm supportive of this project. I think it's going to be really good for the city. And, you know, the restaurant business is tough and you don't know what's going to happen, but Ian's Pizza has a lot of fans in Verona right now. So I feel pretty confident in their success. But that's my opinion. Other thoughts from the Plan Commission? Alder Swanson.
I have one more question, and this may be better answered by, again, the applicant. What is the plan in place regarding delivery of pizza? Because it's pizza. Are you planning to have delivery? Will that be using up parking? Will that be traffic in and out regularly on the street or out of the parking lot? Just something we should know as far as like increased traffic from the business itself.
We worked with,
Oh, I don't suppose you could come up to the microphone?
we worked with the landlord to get 2 dedicated parking spots for our delivery team in that back lot.
Thank you. That answered my question.
Awesome, thank you. Commissioner Powers.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo some of what was said by a number of folks already. I sympathize with the public comment on the traffic patterns and the busyness of the area. I know we're aiming for a walkable downtown, but at the same time, that's bringing a lot of traffic. So it feels like those two things are at odds with each other, and it's a long-term problem, and we do have a long ways to go to fix it. And I'm sure this feels like adding another cut to many other cuts that are out there. It is also planned to be a restaurant and proposed to be a restaurant, and now the space is being filled. So I still do support the project. I do think it is something that we have to figure out as a city, but it is tough to take this one project and say, we can't do this one because we have this global problem within Verona that we have to solve at a bigger level.
Other thoughts from the Plan Commission? Commissioner Hankard.
Okay. First question is, I'm seeing 2 enclosures on the ground level. Are those both for mechanical?
Mr.
Yes.
Severson?
Plus the rooftop?
Yes.
So I'm a little curious as an engineer. You design a building, you know there's a restaurant going in. What, did they not think about air conditioning or something? Why so much need for after the fact air conditioning? That strikes me as odd.
Mr. Severson?
Yeah. So it's my understanding, and the applicant and an architect can correct me, but because the breezeway is being enclosed, that's another space that wasn't previously accommodated. And then also the chase, unfortunately, when the building was built, could only accommodate so much, and it probably wasn't properly sized or thought about when it was built. And so that's the reasoning for the other mechanical equipment at
Okay,
grade.
that explains a little bit of it. Okay, so then to the comments from the public, I agree that there's a larger traffic problem. I live right downtown. I see more people parking in front of my house every day. To me, it's part of living downtown at this point. I'm okay with that. But she did have a point, in my opinion. When you enclose the breezeway, are you adding capacity to the building that was not considered during the original permitting of the facility? Aren't you, I mean, I could understand if they're just going to enclose it because nobody wants to sit out in the cold, but if they're going to add like bunches of seats and stuff, isn't that adding capacity that was not envisioned originally?
Mr. Severson?
It is adding capacity. It's, I think, intended for like a 3-season area. Originally, they were looking at expanding or making the patio into something that was more of a 3-season area. I mean, the patio is great in summer, early fall, late early fall. But it's, some of those shoulder seasons. And so hopefully that additional space can accommodate kind of those seasons. But with that said, the zoning ordinance is pretty clear that any first floor commercial units in the central commercial district are exempt from needing parking. And that's pretty common for downtown zoning districts. In these days, a lot of the parking is intended to be, a lot of parking for the downtown and central business district businesses is intended not to be in off-site, or I should say, parking lots for each individual business, but rather shared parking among public parking lots, on-street parking, but not necessarily large seas of parking for each unit, because that kind of detracts from the overall area.
No, I understand that. And again, I think that comes with living downtown, especially in a Verona that's growing. We can't clamor for restaurants and expect there to not be people parking on streets. I guess it's just the subtle nuance here is that you had a certain amount of square footage envisioned it during the permitting process, and now you have a slightly larger square footage. So if I may, can I ask the applicant to speak to your plan for that atrium area, if you don't mind? And if I may, I walked by there today. That's a big space between the space itself, and I don't know how much your kitchen's gonna hold, and then the upstairs. It's a pretty big space already, is it not?
It felt like it initially, but by the time we had the bathrooms in there and the kitchen, there's really not much left for dining in that original space, and that's kind of what drove us to feel we needed that additional square footage to get enough seats to make sense for the business.
Okay, because we did have the unfortunate experience in this town of that restaurant space up past PD or past cross country that was, it was so big that it could never succeed. But I'm not hearing that from you. That
No, I think we're feeling confident that we have right now the right amount of seating for the restaurant.
okay. So I mean, in a way, that enclosed space kind of like takes your place of your patio in the winter.
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we love that the site with the park built in. We kind of fell in love with that site, and we've been looking at it we've been working on it for a long time, and that's pretty much exactly what happened. Is we were very confident, and then once we got on the layout further down the plan, we realized on a nice summer fall day we have an ample amount of seating with the patio with the rooftop, and it's like if we can't sit enough people in the winter, the business
Gotcha.
plan doesn't
Yeah.
work. So we, unfortunately, like I would rather not rent more square footage as well, but it was kind of our and without storage space is part of what we're doing in the breezeway space as well, just without, I mean, there's not a basement or there's not peripheral storage space. The kitchen ended up taking up more than we were expecting square footage wise. So all of what Carl mentioned, it just kind of, and then the bathrooms on like, and bathrooms. So it was turning into a very narrow shell around the kitchen, and we're very confident in the summer, but started to be less confident with inclement weather and winter planning.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you guys and the park, I get. That's a match made in heaven right there. And this makes me feel better because I'm not hearing that it's a massive restaurant. I'm hearing that you now have the ability to get through winter when people aren't out on your patios. So, I don't know, I think that makes the story better, in my opinion, from adding the square footage, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
And as far as you're mentioning the AC noise, that's an inter-building conundrum, if you ask me. I mean, these people are renters, if you don't like the noise, you can move. That sounds harsh, but it's a reality. But they might want to be a little judicious with what kind of equipment they locate right under somebody's balcony.
Yeah, I guess I would agree. Trust the sound expert. But yeah, if when you look at air conditioning models, maybe try to get a quiet one.
They do come in certain flavors.
I'm going to move that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council to approve the conditional use permit to exceed the maximum height requirement of the Central Commercial Zoning District for the roof-mounted mechanical located at 301 and 303 West Verona Avenue. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Powers. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of recommending to the Common Council to approve the conditional use permit to exceed the maximum height requirement of the Central Commercial Zoning District for the roof-mounted mechanical located at 301 and 303 West Verona Avenue signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. And that motion passes, and we'll go on to the Common Council next Monday. With that, we'll move on to 5B, which is a discussion of possible action regarding the site plan amendment to modify the storefront and add ground-mounted mechanicals located at 301 and 303 West Verona Avenue. Mr. Severson.
Sorry, my previous presentation
Covered both?
Covered both.
That's what I thought, but wanted to give you a chance in case there was anything to add.
Thank you.
Questions or comments on the site plan? I guess I'll call on myself and move that we approve the site plan amendment for 301 and 303 West Verona Avenue. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Henkard. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the site plan amendment for 301 and 303 West Verona Avenue signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. We will move on to item 6, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the site plan amendment to increase the amount of parking for 1155 Ambition Street. Mr. Severson.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting a site plan amendment to increase the number of parking stalls located at 1155 Ambition Street. The subject property is located on Ambition Street on the northeast side of Liberty Business Park. The site plan was most recently approved by the Plan Commission in 2022 for a 58,000 square foot warehouse and flex industrial building with 58 parking stalls. The applicant is requesting approval to add 12 parking stalls to the site to accommodate an indoor volleyball facility. The parking stalls will be added by restriping spaces previously sized to accommodate loading stalls and extra wide parking stalls. No expansion of paving and no additional landscaping will be necessary. In order to mitigate any parking impacts to the area, staff have negotiated a joint vehicular parking agreement with the building owner and tenants to ensure operating hours and their related parking demands do not overlap. Staff recommend approval of the site plan amendment with the conditions that the previous conditions of approval for the site plan still apply, and that a joint vehicular parking agreement shall be recorded with the Register of Deeds.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this one? I call on myself. I move that we approve the site plan amendment with the following conditions. 1, the previous conditions of the approval for the site plan still apply. And 2, a joint vehicle parking agreement shall be recorded with the Register of Deeds. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Powers. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the site plan amendment with the 2 conditions specified in the packet signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. We'll move on to item 7, which is a discussion and possible action regarding a 1-year extension of the preliminary and final plan of a planned development and a conditional use permit for the previously approved plans located at 1050 North Edge Trail. Mr. Sievertson.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting an extension of their zoning approvals for 1050 North Edge Trail. In September of 2024, the Plan Commission and Common Council approved a plan development and conditional use permit for a mixed-use building with 60 dwelling units and approximately 2,200 square feet of commercial space. The approval will expire this month. However, the Plan Commission may grant an extension to the approvals. The applicant is working to secure financing for the project and intends to begin construction later this year or in early 2026. Staff recommends the Plan Commission approve an extension of the development approvals 1 additional year with the following conditions. That North Point Development shall install and maintain a multifamily notification sign as outlined in the city's residential development policy, which will have their contact information posted on the sign. And 2, the site shall remain free of weeds and tall grass shall be cut. The reason for the first approval is kind of just to protect everyone that was part of the approvals, because what we've seen in some cases, unfortunately, is that approval might be given, the project sits for a couple of years waiting for various reasons, and then once construction starts, the neighborhood goes crazy because they didn't think anything was approved or weren't expecting it to go forward. So just sort of a reminder that that site has been approved and is awaiting construction. So that's the reason for that.
Thank you for that explanation. Yeah, just to add on that, we've had instances of real estate agents misleading people when they were selling houses and saying, oh, that's going to be like a couple duplexes or a few townhomes. And then the city approves like a 3-story apartment building, and people are like, well, why did the city change it? It's like, it was always planned for a 3-story apartment building. What do you mean? And so now it's like, it's just easier to put the sign in and be like, look, if you care, call and you'll get the straight story. I do want to also add a brief clarification. I know we're reapproving this, but the developer is currently negotiating with the city council on a potential loan from the city out of the city's affordable housing fund. As part of that, the city council is looking at putting potential conditions on the site as part of the borrowing agreement, which might result in the site plan changing. It might not also. So it's possible we might be seeing modifications, but just so we're all clear. Any questions, comments, or motions on this item?
I guess I would just add that this is just for the extension of approval, so we're not sort of reconsidering the overall plan development and conditional use.
Alder Swanson.
I will make the motion to approve the 1-year extension of the planned development and conditional use permit with the conditions as outlined that North Point Development shall install and maintain a multifamily notification sign as outlined in the city's residential development policy, which will have their contact information posted on the sign, and that the site shall remain free of weeds and tall grass shall be cut.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Powers. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the one-year extension of the preliminary and final plan of a planned development and a conditional use permit for the previously approved plans located at 1015 North Edge Trail with the conditions specified in the packet signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. And that motion passes. I will move on to item 8, which is reports and comments from the planning department. Mr. Sievertson.
Thank you. Let's move on through this. So just an update on the comprehensive plan. The task force will be meeting on September 16th, and that's in preparation of the next open house, which will be on September 30th. So similar to the first open house, we'll have an open house sort of in the late morning, early afternoon from 11 to 1, and that'll be at the senior center. And then there'll be another opportunity for residents to attend open house at night from 6 to 8 p.m., and that'll be at the library.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Sievertson? Commissioner Hankard.
I mean, I think I know the answer, but this one is, so we did the gather, right? And now this one is more like, here's what we found and here's where we're headed, correct?
Exactly. So, apologize. I talk about this every day, but gotta
For those
remember.
listening in radio. land.
Yes. So this will be to present the draft recommendations, or kind of like the framework of the master plan, or so the comprehensive plan. So before we kind of go down one or multiple paths, we want to make sure that the public is more or less on board with the ideas that we're presenting. And if they are, we'll proceed. If they're not, we'll, reconsider those and bring those back.
Other questions for Mr. Sievertson? Seeing no further discussion, did that cover everything in the update on the comp plan?
Yes, thank
Okay. With that, we move on to item 9, which is adjournment. A motion to adjourn would be in order. Commissioner Hankard?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hankard. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Powers. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And we're adjourned at 7:07 p.m. Thank you, everyone.